Start streaming. 3, 2, 1. We are just about online.
Live.
Yep.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the South-Afrifur podcast. With us today we have Greenreaper all the way from England, Kent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that's correct. I was originally from Kent, but now I'm just a little bit further to the north.
Okay.
Awesome.
And obviously joining us today are Scratch and Inpw, both from the Western Cape.
Hello.
No way.
And welcome to the podcast. I hope you guys enjoy the evening. We're going to be talking about a couple of interesting things, one of them being a recap of the Inpw buy of Fur Affinity. Another thing would possibly be a couple of stats that Mr. Greenreaper has decided to would possibly want to share with us in respect to things. Considering that this is Anthrocon weekend, we're also going to be looking at the stats there, see whether there's an increase or decrease or anything like that. Aside from that, we're probably also just going to have some random chat, and you guys please just remember to, if you have any questions for Greenreaper, just let him know, post it on the site, and we'll relay it to him.
Yep.
Cool. Welcome to the podcast.
Me.
No way.
Yeah, in regards of the IMVU thing, I remembered back when it just started, there was a thread on FAF, which is the Fur Affinity forums. That was one of the funniest things that I ever read, because not only was the IMVU purchased a little bit unexpected, but the people were really treating it like the world is ending. So my question is...
It's really more of a process of ending. You know, sites go through a series of evolutions. You have, the beginning, the idea. Wouldn't it be great if? You have a long period of, well, maybe it will happen, maybe it won't happen. Then suddenly, oh shit, things are happening, and you end up, and things are very exciting for a while, and then they settle down. There's bits and pieces, and eventually it gets to the point where some people move on, other people come in, and that's how a site evolves. This is kind of a new thing in the fandom. We've had the whole, we got commercialism in the fandom. You got Bad Rag, and you've got all of that.
Yeah.
But it's been in the fandom. Not this is sort of like corporate takeovers doesn't really happen in furry, but now they do. And it's cool. It's kind of cool that we've got to the point where you have someone. Not only are they taking out ads, and let me maybe split. IMVU has had a thing with furries for a long time. They were advertising on I believe FA, and specifically to furries. They had a landing page for furries. You can look this up on Wikifer. That specifically said, it pointed out to me, this is one of the first times people are specifically advertising to furries. So clearly they see us as a market segment.
Yeah.
They haven't necessarily done it very well, and it's clear we are a segment and not their main population.
Yeah.
That could be tricky, depending on what they want to do with the site going forward.
Does anybody know how? Sorry, Ivic, you can. Ivic.
No, go.
Does anybody know how the main population of IMVU that is not part of the fandom actually responded to the merging of the two platforms?
I think there is like a mix between what? Why are you doing this? And oh, I'm sorry for those guys.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked at the forum. I mean, I read over all the threads. And they were, I think we wrote up a Flavor article about this, and it was basically, you better watch out because they're really only in it for the money. Now, on the plus side, if they're in it for the money, maybe they can make FA make some money and have it continue and, be well funded. If it is to survive, it may need money to have like developers work on it, that sort of thing. They have been doing some features. So, actually it can be a good idea for companies to be involved in running sites. Whether that is a good idea for a community in the long run, and how it plays out. Well, this is the big experiment, isn't it? It's kind of a little bit worrying that this is happening with the biggest site, but of course it would, because it is the biggest site. It's the natural target. They're not going to come to Ink Bunny and say, hey, do you want to sell out? They're going to go to FA, because FA is the one that could most benefit them and perhaps would most benefit from an infusion of capital.
Yeah. But, I mean, the thing is that, I mean, you can't ever discredit the idea that Inpw is, a really, really good sort of like creator of furries and things like that. Specifically because, I mean, if you have a glance at people who have anything to do with their fursonas or anything like that, and they play around with it and things, they tend to sort of gravitate to Inpw before they go to Second Life.
I've not actually seen that myself. I've seen things like Furcadia. I think it's one of the places that they might go. I admit I'm maybe not in the market.
Furcadia is old. It's actually very, very outdated. It's almost going the same way that Gmod is going, in that there are so very, very few people who are actually like gathered in specific areas there. And I mean, the thing is that sometimes you need to know where these areas are. It's the same thing again. Like, I mean, they're private areas for these people or those people, or they're adults only. And I mean, that's exactly what happens on the furry muck. Is that, like, I mean, if you don't know where you're going, then you have to ask people. And the thing is that a lot of the time they're like, we don't necessarily know you that well. Whereas in Inpw, yeah, fine. I mean, like, you probably get a lot more, furry hate from that side, specifically because of people who are non-furry, and they love trolling people, I guess. I mean, it's the same thing with Second Life. I mean, you go into a non-furry area, or you go into an area that isn't necessarily populated by furries, and you're going to get a little bit of flack for it.
Yeah, the concern for me is that Inpw is just bigger than FA in some respects, certainly in the making money part. And I'm curious as to how they think it's going to play out on FA, because it seemed like they were thinking we can just slap some ads on there. Look, that it was a more adult IMVU in a way, it was that kind of community, and therefore they could just slap some adult ads on there and be done with it. It would be pretty, once they got everything set up. And obviously that isn't really working out so well, because furries don't click on human porn, and there isn't any furry porn ads other than the ones that were already on FA that they've just screwed up, because no one wants to buy ads anymore, because the ad blockers have come on, because they try and put human ads on them. So
you mean they actually like to put human ads?
Yeah, let's have these really nasty human porn ads on FA. You did catch that, right?
No.
They have. Okay, so you guys missed out on this. Maybe I should have done an odd. Yeah, well done. So they had a huge amount of drama about putting meat singles in your area, and these lusty, horny milfers want to abandon their husbands and have sex with you. I am not kidding. That is there. You can see it online, and this is just the sort of thing that will make people think, why on earth did they sell to IMVU? They don't know how to make money from this site, because this is not even going to work. This is not going to, the only thing that could get is impressions, and it won't if people ad block it, which is what is happening. There are lots of people saying, well, I used to have ad block off for this site because I want to support the site, but now I don't give a damn. And that's the problem, that their viability as a business is threatened by the fact that they are now not seen as being furries, but they are seen as being corporate overlords.
Okay, but didn't they do their research on the type of people that they actually are getting involved with presenting advertisements and whatnot with them? Because it seems to me like a really dumb move going into a fandom that has a very specific interests, and you're going to advertise stuff on it that necessarily is like counter to those interests. You understand? Mm-hmm. It's like they didn't do their research at all.
Well, this is you don't have to assume that a company always does things sensibly.
Yeah.
and maybe it was represented differently to by Dragoneer to IMVU. Maybe I think, they were just kind of clueless to start with. I don't know if you were watching on Twitter when they were like, hello friends. It'll be horrific. And it's like, you don't know furries, do you? You don't know how to talk to them. We're not your typical teenage. There are some teenagers in the fandom, but the actual average age is close to 25. And so while we may be a youth culture, we're not we're all listening to pop songs. And that'll be the next best thing, because how the ways that IMVU makes money are, number one, selling virtual content, and number two, ice cream truck, yay ice cream. Number two, selling music. Selling music in your virtual dubiously hang out with dubious portraits of blotch artwork that's been stolen by the person who's selling it on IMVU.
Yeah.
And that's how they make their money. Number one, selling the user content. Number two, selling music. So it might not be surprising that people are worried that, if IMVU is getting involved, they're going to monetize the content that is on FA. I don't know that they're going to do that, but it might be one way of moving. My suggestion would be figure out a partner who you can sell prints from, because that's actually worked out kind of well for Ink Bunny when we were doing it.
Yeah.
The issue was processing payments. Now, IMVU is big enough maybe that it's not going to be an issue for them. They can find, they have a processor gateway, it's going to work with them, and that would be fine as long as they do it, but they have to do it.
Another question is, that I just want to ask, and then I'm going to give Ivic and Scratch a little chance, because I know I'm actually overtaking the call. But the other thing is what I want to ask, when you get involved with something like a corporate company doing something like that would want to buy it over, their method of income is going to be primarily on the ads that they throw on top of the site, etc. My question is that they're really going into a fandom that a very large percentage of the guys that is on there, because it's an internet fandom, are going to be involved or at least knowledgeable about some internet technology. How did they actually gain a profit out of banner ads when probably the most of the people on those sites actually will run something like ad block or never click on an ad?
I would say that actually that's not true.
Not true.
Again, this gets into furry exceptionalism. Are furries more technically advanced than non-furries?
Yeah,
I think that there are a lot of
age, I guess.
Yeah, and you've also got to consider whether the people most likely to click on the ads are also those most least likely to block them. It's if you're just casually browsing, then maybe you'll click an ad. But it is a good question. Are they technically? And I can't really answer that other than to say that there are a lot of technical people out there, and more importantly, perhaps they are now motivated to tell other people how to block the ads because they find them, object to them, and there are people asking, how do I block these ads? As opposed to just, maybe they found the ads annoying, but they wouldn't have gone to the trouble of blocking them if they didn't, actively. Also, the thing to consider there is it's not just from a user perspective, from a member perspective, but from a member who is displaying their art there. An art site always has at least two user bases: the people who are viewing the art and the people who are presenting the art. So you have to keep both of them happy to a certain extent. And some of the features in a site are contrary or in some ways to one group versus another. Like maybe popular art is good for the people who are popular, but that's not many of the artists. Many of the artists would prefer not to have a popular art section, but at the same time it's good for the members coming in, and as a whole for the site it's maybe good because it shows off the best of the site and encourages people to stick around. But you get the point. There are two groups here, and one of the groups that they pissed off are the artists who are showing art because they are, they now you can't point to FA anymore. Even if you could be, if you felt you could before. Now, if there's furry porn, non-furry porn ads on there, it'll look like a site you don't want to send your friends to, and that's part of why they quickly remove those ads from FA. And if they put them back, they'll have the same problem. It makes it a bad place to host your art, which in turn will make those people move away to other sites, which will break FA.
Yeah.
In respect to that, and it's actually very, very weird to like sort of see it. I mean, like, I've started getting myself involved sort of semi into a lot of the like Google Plus sort of culture just to see what was going on there. So I mean, it's not like it's not the main method of communications, but in that same sense, I mean, there are groups on there with up to 6,000 to 7,000 furs on there. And a lot of them keep on asking, like, and there are a lot of furs that actually ask, like, where do I find art? Where do I find these people? I generally, like, most of them sort of find all of their art or their links and things like that off Twitter or Tumblr or anything like that. And a lot of the time you'll see that, like, on Tumblr and Twitter, they don't necessarily credit the artist, and then somebody else picks it up, and then they don't credit the artist. And it's sort of like, and the worst thing is that, I mean, like, when we talk about people who are technologically sort of savvy and things like that, some people don't even look into the bottom right or left or top right or top left corner of an art piece anymore to see whether they're actually, like, whether the person's actually put their damn signature there or not. And I've seen this on several occasions where a person literally says, hey, here's the thing that I got, and it's so amazing, and blah-de-blah-de-blah, and doing all these, like, weird arm movements that I'm doing right now. And literally kind of sit there going, like, I don't know who the artist is. And then immediately, like, the next post is bottom left corner, it's Falvey.
Yeah. Well, you can't assume that people are, again, any more smart than the average person on the internet, even if they are a furry. And in fact, they may be less smart because furries are on average younger.
Yeah, no. I don't think that is exactly what I sort of meant by that. I meant actually, this is not just a thing on a furry site. This is a thing on almost advertising on any site. Normally people that will engage in an internet forum or internet site like that are the type of people that I would say, okay, maybe not today anymore. Maybe obviously the way that the internet is growing into everybody's hands, it differs. But I know back when I freaking started using the internet, everybody on the internet was a damn developer. You understand what I mean? So maybe, okay, that could be the reason why. It's as it progresses, obviously more and more people that are not tech savvy or whatnot gets to use it.
Yeah, they can use the retweet button, but they don't know, how, what a retweet is, or how it gets an image from another page, or that sort of thing. I noticed a comment in chat, with ad blocking becoming more used, news publishers are moving to articles that contain the advert. And yes, that's an interesting perspective. Are we going to have promoted posts on FA? That would be an interesting approach. I'm not sure how it would actually work. Maybe they slip themselves into your submissions. Maybe as an artist you can, it'd be like Twitter here, a promoted submission, which would be kind of cool.
If DeviantArt hasn't been able to do it, then I mean, who would? How do you even do that? I mean, like, the thing is that DeviantArt has been able to, they've sort of attempted to rule to a large extent the artist community throughout, the world, I guess. And I mean, the thing is that they've never gotten it right. So I mean, who's to say that anybody else can?
Well, they've tried a lot of things, DeviantArt. I don't know if they're profitable or what. I suspect they are making at least some cash flow. Buglish, yeah. I think the issue you'll get is that it's just too specific an audience. You'd need someone to sort of like transfer it into something that furries care about. I don't think that you're going to get camera people, advertising on FA, especially since there's so much porn, which is the part of the issue. There is this article on adjective species and about the commercial aspects of for Affinity now, and they were like, well, yeah, being an adult site really cuts you out from a lot of people because they don't want their stuff advertised on a porn site, and it's true. Furries don't necessarily think of it like that, and that's why there is such a backlash against these ads, because while IMVU might see FA as a porn site, the users of the site don't see FA as a porn site. It's really kind of amusing. But that's the point. It's a social art site. Even Ink Bunny is a social art site.
And South-Afrifur and
South-Afrifur and Weasel and all of them. There's all VCL. VCL was a social art site, even though it didn't really have comments. It was an art site at least. And we over time we move more towards the social side of things. So you start not having an art site. You have furry groups on Google Plus, on Facebook, on Twitter, and that's the way things have been moving. But there is still a need, or at least many artists still feel the need for a gallery that is theirs under their control, and that is what social sharing of artwork doesn't really give you. It gives you a feed, but it doesn't give you organisation. It doesn't give you, necessarily a set group of friends, and it depends what you want. But Inpw seems to have figured out, decided that they will make some money out of this. I don't know if they yet figured out a good model for that.
Yeah. Well, Buglish has an example here on the chat. With ad blocking becoming more used, new publishers are moving to articles that contain the advert. What are you laughing at?
Nothing.
But anyways, capture your furry con on our new Sony Z2 20 megapixel camera. That's a way to advertise.
See, they don't even know how to properly market to furries, because you need to you need to promote the low light capabilities to be able to get it in the furry disco. If you had someone who had been at a furry con like myself, I would be able to do better, stuff like that, because I could say why a particular piece of equipment could be useful for a furry con. And that's the difference, and that's what's not going to work on FA or on any other furry site, because you need to have the relevant people marketing it, and that takes money, and it's just not worth it. FA is in an unfortunate situation where it's got a big audience, but is it big enough to be worth specifically marketing things to? Probably not, unless they're very relevant, which is why the ads were mostly furry stuff.
Like Bad Dragon.
Yeah, like Bad Dragon. I mean, Bad Dragon makes money by selling goods, many of which happen to be. I mean, furries are a big part of the market, but not the only part of the market for Bad Dragon. There is a significant I believe there is a significant non-furry interest in animal pillars.
That's interesting.
People who don't, aren't particularly interested in, being an anthropomorphic animal, they just think this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's like the people who watch cartoons. Not every one of them is imagining, what if I were a raccoon? They're just appreciating it for a fun story.
Yep.
And you can appreciate little bottles of gum lube as well in other ways, without imagining that you are a wolf.
Just, I mean, in respect to just on the entire thing, and I mean, I'm moving back a little bit, but in respect to the, God damn it, the sort of catchphrases that are attempted to be used and things like that. I mean, can we link sort of a similar kind of disdain to the fact that, I mean, and I mean, I've been thinking about that for a while, a disdain to the idea that they used the words "be fur" in Zootopia.
Why? Yeah. Yeah, Zootopia. I mean, that's the number one movie that every furry wants to hear about, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of. I've seen some discussion about whether it's like cashing in, or is it, do they really understand this, and are they just trying to make money out of furries, or is it a play? Are they trying to open a hand of a fig leaf and say here we love you furries as well. We want to make up. We want to make up for all the people we've thrown out of Disney because we found them doing furry porn.
Trying to spread their trailer on the internet using furries, because that definitely worked.
People were kicked out of Disney because of.
There have been
Really?
consistent stories of this. I cannot provide personal proof of this. I think actually part of that is more, people think that that's why, and actually there are other good reasons why you didn't get a job or why you may have lost a job, but it's a good excuse. It probably doesn't help though. Consider Disney has thrown out people who don't meet their specific look requirements. I mean, there was that story just this week of a guy, a Sikh, who couldn't drive certain routes because his turban didn't fit the costume that they expected for public routes, which is kind of sad, really. You've got Aladdin, right? You could have just dressed it up and have a little. That would have been so cool. But no, they didn't do that. You've got to be imaginative here. So get those Imagineers on it. But there's been certainly a concern in the traditional animation thing that anything porny is kind of a bad thing that you don't really want to talk about, and if you do it, you do it on the down low.
Given the amount of like sexual innuendo within a fair amount of like Disney films, I find that very hard to believe.
Well, yeah, but there's innuendo and then there's porn, and there's a difference. There is a difference.
So basically there's innuendo and then there's innuendo.
There is a Disney movie that had a naked woman like in just a few frames inside of it. I'm trying to find that now. I'm not gonna share it, or maybe it's censored. Disney.
Well, you can always self-censor it. Just put 2 big black blocks on it. Or possibly the thinnest lines that you can possibly find.
Yeah, it was like really
a la
background, but it was an old movie.
Well, there was that thing about putting sex in Lion King.
Yeah, that word sex.
It was meant to be FX.
Mm-hmm. But that shit is scattered all over the internet. Just Google Disney subliminal messages, and you're gonna find it somewhere.
Yeah. Here it is.
Like there's like a dick-shaped spire in one of the coral palaces on the Little Mermaid cover, or something like that.
Well, and all of the if you look in the background of the sort of like cityscape in this new movie, the whatever it's called, Photopia, whatever.
Oh, Inside Out.
All of the buildings look like Bad Dragon toys, apparently.
Is that Inside Out?
No, Photopia most likely. Of Zootopia.
Serious?
I don't know.
Have you looked at these sites? I mean, I've got it somewhere. I have way too many tabs, unfortunately. So actually finding anything is a big problem. But I have got it somewhere.
Are we talking about that one with a fox and the bunnies staring at him?
Yeah, yes, that.
Well, I mean, if you really had to think about it, there's a building to the my right-hand side that looks a little bit like a fleshlight, but I mean, aside from that, no.
It reminds me of these 2 strata roller coasters that exist in the world that are phallically shaped. The tallest roller coaster looks like a giant penis. The It's just an ego thing.
Look, I mean, if you had to go that way, then every single church is just pretty much the exact same.
No, these rides actually do look like. But I think it was just a coincidence.
Yeah, probably.
But
It just happens to be particularly aerodynamic or something like that.
But it's funny how these innuendos in the Disney films actually gets made. I mean, didn't that guy lose his job? I mean, this is from The Rescuers.
Probably.
Did you post it?
Or maybe.
Yeah, I posted it on the first stream chat.
That is weird.
That is weird.
Oh no, I think I know that. Like, wasn't there like stuff hidden in the Secret of Nim as well or something?
Nim's secrets.
What bothers me is that these are children's shows.
Yeah, well,
Why would they do that? Why would you want to do that?
It's just
Why
bored
does
animators, you know? They put
why does anyone do
something. Why
anything?
wouldn't you?
why does anyone do anything? It's for the lulz.
Anybody ever watch Fight Club?
Yep.
And have you
Don't
seen
mention
those?
Fight Club.
Have you seen those frames? Like for a single frame.
Well, what was there for a single frame? I can't remember now.
Oh, lots of sex.
Yeah, that, and like, I mean, in the same sense, like they did something very, very similar in Clone High during
Yeah,
the Raisin episode.
it was funny. Yeah.
But those were like explicitly like 0.5 of a second. You're just sitting there going like, oh,
Yeah.
oh wait, hold on.
Yeah, it's like a single.
Skip back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good show.
Mhm.
I'm so miffed they didn't go
Anyways.
for another season, but yeah.
Moving on, what conventions have you been recently to, Greenreaper?
The most recent would be Confield. I found that picture. Let me post that in chat as well. It's a fine picture. It's not entirely. It's not unclean or anything. So yes, that one. I've been to Nordic FaceCon and Confield most recently, and yeah, they're both good conventions. I had fun at both of them. Other than the fact that I did get a horrible, disease at Confield and came home with a Concord and lay in bed for 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah, it was a good convention. Other than that, but the end was not so cool.
Yeah, apart from getting the con flu.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was probably partly my fault because I stayed up running a werewolf game until 4 a.m. until Sunday morning, 4 a.m. And this wasn't even a scheduled game. It was like, I brought the cards for this, game, where it's a party game where you sit around and pretend that you're given a card saying what you are, whether you're a werewolf or a villager or something else.
Oh, I think I know
You're
that
trying to you're trying to find the werewolves basically, and it's a mind game. Role-playing game. Anyway, we played it until 4 a.m. And maybe that wasn't the smartest move, but hey, you got to do some things. But other than that, I had a good time. It was my first time at a British Ferry convention, so yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, not super different to other furry conventions, I would say.
More tea?
But
Did you manage to meet Muzz?
Muzz. Not sure who that is.
Muzz. She's relatively well known, at least maybe to me. I could be completely wrong.
Is she in the
She's a
UK
fur that's been
or-
around. Yeah, she's in the UK. She actually went to Confuzzled.
Maybe
yeah,
I did.
this year.
I probably did. I would have forgotten.
Oh,
I think
she generally wears like a black and she's a hyena, black and white hyena.
Right. I probably
Posting
did.
linkage. There it is.
Yeah, I probably did, but there were a lot of people there. There were over 1,000 people there. I mean, it's not Anthrocon, but it's it fills the hotel almost. That's how it goes.
I recently saw, because Uncle Kage didn't do his wine stream, which I normally check, there's nothing funnier than watching people getting drunk, right?
Yes.
But he went to an anime convention called SunnyCon, and it's also in the UK. But there were like a few furries there and him there, and then their guest of honor that was supposed to do all the masquerades and all those things didn't show up. And he overtook and ran almost all those things, including the comedies. And he completely actually saved their convention. Because it was a very, very dark spot. And I find that actually kind of interesting. It's like people, especially in the anime fandom, are getting more and more used to having furries around and actually seeing, oh, well, there's this guy, he's actually a really funny guy. Let's listen to him and laugh at his weird horror stories. And he's talking about furry convention horror stories. And...
Well, of course, that just makes it more fun if you're not a furry.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause you can laugh at the furries as well. Yeah. I can believe that. So this was a non-furry convention, or
Sonicon is an anime convention.
All right. So yeah, I mean, the anime people would know what furries are, but they wouldn't, necessarily identify with them, and therefore they can sort of have, hear about these people and laugh.
You should see the questions that started arriving from that crowd towards him after he did his comedy show. It was kind of like, can you still be a furry if you don't have a furry character? And questions like that. It's like the people making, the people like him making that type of effort really actually gets to that level of getting people's interest in the fandom. And that was actually really surprising. What I saw is that this guy was the funniest guy there, and there goes everybody, and they freaking all ate him up. Even though he's old chemist.
Well, you should. I would beware the point that he is, of course, telling this story to you, so he would represent himself in a positive manner. I can still believe that, though. I can totally believe that they had some flaky guy not show up and he stepped in. He's not he's not a bad guy who would do that. People do have these questions. I mean, some furries have these questions. Can I be a furry even if I don't have a persona? Maybe I don't belong in the fandom. I can totally see that happening. And again, there isn't actually that super much difference between furry fans and brony fans and anime fans and that sort of thing in the fact that they have a fandom.
The only difference that I necessarily see is you can immediately distinguish between the fandoms. Let's say there's no cosplaying going on. Furries would tend to go to a fur meet that isn't cosplay in a fursuit, right? Because we don't see it as cosplaying, we see it as fursuiting. We have our own terminology for it. And that is always at the most vivid, clear indication that you can actually say, okay, that is a furry party, or that is a furry convention. Is what is on the front line. Otherwise, you would think, oh, these are a bunch of people having fun. They're probably fans of something. You understand what I mean? That is the most distinctive difference. Is you can actually tell it apart by the cosplayers or fursuiters and those type of people. That is practically at the front line. Even though if you know the furry fandom very well, it's actually the artwork and those type of things. That's the content that gets created.
Well, I think there is a lot of anime content as well, and a lot. I think that in both cases, fursuiters and cosplayers get a lot of press, and are not necessarily the core of it. Because of course, what are they cosplaying? It's an anime, know, or something like that. What are you fursuiting? Your character, who is depicted in many mediums, most usually visual ones. So it's much the same, I think. There are anime characters who are furry characters as well. Just as there are animation characters who are furry characters. Rita just happened to be animated in in Europe, but it could you could have had a Japanese Rita, jungle animal. Hugo and Rita. That even sounds like a poorly translated Japanese anime. Yeah. But it does, isn't it? Biggie's probably a poorly translated European film. But anyway, the point is, it's much the same wherever you go.
Yeah, it is.
And the more time you spend in furry, the more you recognise that actually it's a social community as much as it is about a particular art form, and people want to belong to it, maybe that's where we're getting with IMVU. They say, well, it's a social community, it's much the same, we can just run it the same way. It doesn't quite work out, you need specifics. But,
No. And interesting, like, I mean, since you mentioned adjective species, I decided to go onto the website, see what they posted out that was new. And I mean, in respect to people who are artists and things like that, and I mean, we're also sort of talking about the age of sort of the furry fandom and the fact that it came out in the early '80s to an extent, and obviously now recently, great, Doug Winger died,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I know that both myself and Scratch were. To an extent, like semi sort of interested in the way that he drew and what he drew. He was sort of like the first kind of person that I myself noted as possibly what I could actually note him as possibly one of the first porn artists that I've actually ever seen. And I was always very, very intrigued with the way that he drew things. But I mean, like, how old was he though?
It's on his article. Let's have a check. I mean, he was so born in 1953, so he would be 62.
Sheesh.
Which is not an unusual age for furry fans, as some
No, it's not
one
an unusual
mentioned.
age.
As is mentioned in the, it is kind of unusual, but it's not super old. There are furries who are older, and you know, we're going to get that. We're going to get people dying. I mean, I've considered writing 3 obituaries for some people because, you know, they're going to die at some point. It's just weird. I mean, Wikifur is great for that. You can kind of raid Wikifur if you're ever doing an obituary for someone. Good place to start, but be careful to check the sources. Yeah, it's it's going to happen, and it's going to happen more often, unfortunately. You know. And you know, we're going to get to the point where science fiction fandom has this. You know, you end up with people that you know just disappearing, you know, for various reasons. You know, some of them, first you get the people with health problems, and they just age. And right now we're getting the people with health problems.
Leonard
but it
Nimoy
won't be too
died.
long before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leonard Nimoy. In that same sense, not necessarily as sci-fi as possible, but in the fantasy area, there was
Terry Pratchett.
Terry Pratchett, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Christopher Lloyd? No, Christopher Lloyd. Is he dead yet? No. Random question. Is Christopher Lloyd dead yet?
.com.
Christopher Lee.
Oh yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Also
consider how the average age of a furry right now might be 25. Now, when did furry start? Maybe 1980, say around then. So, add, you know, from now to then till now, 35 years. 35 plus 25 is 60. So there are now furries who were the average furry back in 1980, who are 60 years old, i.e. Doug Winger. You know,
if not older.
If not older. I mean, Fred Patton's 73 or 74 or something like that. You know, it's and you know, it's going to get to the point where we're going to get people like, you know, Kage is what, 56 or something like that. I'm sure it's on Wikipedia, something around there. You know, he's going to be 60, he's going to be 70 sometime, and people are going to leave the fandom, or they're going to die. You know, maybe both at the same time, and it's going to be sad.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if they die, they've left the fandom
by default.
Gone to the big furry
Well,
heaven.
You say that, but actually, some people have been having their art published posthumously. There's, let me think. It came up recently because someone was complaining. Oh, you know, why is this costing $74? Well, actually, you know, $18 of it is going to the people who, you know, his estate. So, yeah, there are furry art projects that are based on dead people's art, which is kind of creepy, but kind of cool.
Yeah,
well, I mean, if you want creepy enough, you're looking at people who pose with, you know, dead people in the same photo. back in the 1800s during the daguerreotype thing.
Or the one that will be very specific. It's like, oh yes, let's all see your auction off like Lemonade Coyote's fursuit for charity, and then start wearing it around like he's not really dead. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not buying that. No.
No.
Did that happen?
Someone will. Someone will. Yeah, it's gonna happen. If it hasn't already.
Is somebody actually going to... Why would you want... Why?
Well, why would
I know
you
it's
want
an
any?
homage.
Yeah.
It's the same thing like having a hologram of Michael Jackson performing on stage.
Yeah, you could make a lot of money out of
It's
it.
not the same.
It's
not the same
thing.
Well, literally wearing a thing that a person who last wore it died in. Not in, but died.
He was
Before.
wearing the suit when he died. No. Yeah, that would certainly be.
Then I think that is a little bit weird.
That would sell.
Haunted. Well, I mean, in all fairness, like with the whole Five Nights, with the Five Nights at Freddy's like thing, I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't necessarily be that bad an idea.
I don't know.
I would
Well,
be
better-
buried with my first.
Yeah,
I highly doubt
you
that.
might- But would you be buried in your fursuit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm sure there are some furries who will do that.
Good luck explaining
And that
that
would
to
be-
anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's in your will, you have to do it, right? Yeah. There we are.
Well, depending.
but what happened?
Sorry.
What happens if you die like horrifically though? What happens if like you were found in a car in the at the bottom of a lake, and they opened up the boot and they slightly jostled the car and you pretty much exploded?
Then they will burn your ashes and put them in your fursuit head, like an urn.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Okay, that'd be good.
Even worse.
They can
like
light
that.
a little, they can light some little candles behind the eyes, just to be like it's you're alive.
Oh,
You
God,
can claim
no.
Your life.
No.
Or if you have
Very
special,
macabre. Sorry.
if you have a special arrangement with whoever is going to cremate you, get cremated with your fursuit.
Yeah.
It's just gonna.
Or you can donate your fursuit to charity, and have it, or to the local museum, and have it an example of furry art. But
Well,
they need that. They've been people asking for that. There are people asking at the University of it's in California.
Berkeley?
What's it called? Yeah, it could be
Berkeley?
Berkeley. I don't think it's Berkeley though. It's University of California Riverside. They have this whole furry thing going on because Fred Patton donated most of his stuff to them. So they've been asking around saying, hey, is anyone willing to donate a fursuit? Which is kind of weird, but what if you were going to die? Maybe you would do that.
Well, your legacy continues because especially if you're one of the more active furries in the fandom, your legacy should continue. You're going to maybe have art drawn of you after you're dead.
Yeah.
As long as somebody gets the commission money or pays for the commission money. I don't even know how it works when you're a popular fur and somebody draws your art without asking you, or you understand. There's still that little.
Yeah.
do you guys remember,
Dead, are they doing of you? Yeah.
Some of you have at least seen a little bit of Fable, especially Fable 1, right?
Yes.
Now, I mean, what I'm actually thinking about right now is like Fable 1 and the Hall of Heroes, where you have like this entire hole dedicated to nothing but people's fursuits, like on either side. Uncle Kage is like right in front with his cockroach.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a cockroach fursuit. People
He
need
doesn't
to.
have a cockroach.
He's
No, he has
should make a
another
fursuit.
fursuit.
Okay.
He's actually lied on radio about this. He has.
I have seen that fursuit. It's pretty interesting. He actually spoke about it. His mom actually kept him up to him and said, "Oh, you're terribly, terribly sexy." And he says, "Mom, go away." Something along the lines of that.
Oh shit! She didn't know it was a son in it. Yeah.
Grandma
Same.
Kage is nice. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
We've had long chats.
Huh.
Yeah, so like I said, when you're in artwork or in writing or in media, and maybe if you're a very good fursuiter, your legacy can continue, you should actually give that fursuit to somebody else before you die. And say, if you're a good actor and you can be like me in that suit, do it.
The thing I would say there is that really we've not got enough fursuiters who are old enough for that to have happened yet. So,
Yeah.
and when they are, probably their fursuits will be kind of out of date. I mean, sure, it's, you know, if you, what they call dream dragons or whatever it is, you know the one that goes through.
Angel dragons?
Yeah, angel dragons.
Angel dragons.
So if you've got telephones, you know, if you're a telephone and you died right now, yes, maybe. If you were a telephone in 40 years, is anyone going to care?
The fursuits don't last forever.
Right. Yeah, they tend to get kind of scruffy. And, you know, people retire them. You know, what does that mean? They sit in the back of your closet and eventually get thrown out, maybe, when you're dead? I don't know. Or when you move to a home or something like that.
Like I said, it depends on probably your
Fursuit home.
your involvement in the fandom.
Yeah, the home for dilapidated fursuiters.
Yeah, there's a farm somewhere.
Oh, God.
Five Nights at Freddy's. What I'm thinking about.
And they end up being turned into, like, you know, it'll be like the end of Animal Farm. You know, where they take the fursuit away and it's actually being reprocessed into plushies.
Oh, imagine
Hey, that'd be awesome.
Imagine
Well, it's a
this.
circle of life. Someone had turned made a fursuit from plushies. It is hideous, by the way. So, you know, sorry, go on with what you were imagining.
Imagine this. By the time we're the age to date, maybe animatronics would have that type of artificial intelligence. Get an animatronic and let him wear your fursuit to AnthroCon.
Well, then you'll be able to transfer your memories into it. So really, will it be any different to, you know, to you being there? You know, you're still acting. You're still acting it. It's only acting.
If you can do that, there was this film Transcendence, and that film raises a hell of a lot of questions about what happens when your memory gets transferred to a machine, right? Is it really you, or is it not you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of, consider this. Imagine I make a complete duplicate of you, right? I freeze you, I make a complete duplicate of you. Who is you? Both of you are going to think they're you.
You is me.
Well, if you, arguably, they are both you.
Basically what happens is a question of consciousness. You understand? So I don't know if that is actually, I don't even know how that will work on a scientific level. It's probably one of the weirdest questions.
Well, they've done. I mean, it's all come up in Star Trek, hasn't it? So, you know, we just have to. How did they do it? They actually ended up with two people who were slightly different.
Immediately right after you're cloned, then the paths differ, right?
Yeah.
But before, because your perspective on reality is different. The angle that you're looking at from the first second, right? So then the paths goes in two different places, but both of them have exactly the same childhood and everything and whatnot. Now, who is going to be the conscious one, or is both going to be conscious, but who is going to be you?
You know,
crazy question.
In respect to that, like this just reminds me of something from Total Recall. You are not you, you're me.
Yeah, that was quite amusing.
It's just an interesting question. But yeah, if you could transfer your memory to animatronic. No, I'll make it like one of those scary Fazbear animatronics. That's what's...
No. Try to cram others into it.
into itself.
I mean, that is some kind of furry enrobement. This is why Five Nights at Freddy's is so popular. It's something furries can get into. They can get into the idea of furry characters taking humans into themselves, even if it was not. Yeah, it's one of those things that furries are. There we are. That's what it is.
We are.
And of course, there's cool. Yeah.
It's furry animatronic vor.
Well, have you seen that, like the fake Choose Your Own Adventure books? You are a fursuit.
I haven't seen that.
Is that a thing?
Oh, it's so cool. and it's clean. So I
that is
own keep on talking, sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah, that's cool. It's even on Inpw, so I'll just post that right there. And it's a general rated art piece, and it's even made some prints out. It's hilarious.
Okay.
So check out that link. And,
Go Inpw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a clean
wow.
piece on Inpw. Yeah. But that's basically, and this was 2010, I would note. So clearly, 5 years ago, almost to the day.
Whoa, holy resolution.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can get. We offer high resolution.
Where's the Batman?
Yeah.
Holy resolution, Batman. Come on.
4,800 by 7,200 pixels.
Yeah. You can get it that high. There have been people who bought that as prints. So, yeah. Yeah, that was back in the day when Inpw could actually help people make money, which is unfortunate. We had to stop that. Yeah. And that is a viable solution for FA if it chooses to go down that path, I suspect.
DeviantArt does it.
No.
Yeah. And DeviantPrint, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you can make money.
Instead of just the commission money and whatnot, you can actually sell the print. Not a bad idea.
Or digital downloads. We had people making money from comics. They were. I mean, whether it's the best way of making money, I don't know. But we had people selling comics on Inpw as digital downloads, and they were making a non-zero amount of money from that.
Non-zero amount. I like that.
Yeah, I don't want to go into specific. We were at least covering on the commission that we charged. We were at least covering the site hosting costs, and that was back in 2010 when we were just starting up, really. So whether it's enough for FA, I don't know, but it could be a component. Again, IMVU doesn't make all of its money from user-generated content. It makes some of it from user-generated content, some of it from selling music in rooms. You've got to have a variety of things that take advantage of what your community that you've built up wants to have. Just as you could have premium things on FA, and you could sell artwork, and you could do other things. Yeah.
No, but apparently Imbu is just completely missing that market at the moment.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's just easier to put ads on there. That's the easy thing. You can specify this is what you must do. Not you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. You just do it.
Are they probably? I don't know if anybody knows this, or if anybody that knows is able to answer this question. Is my first thing that I actually thought what will happen eventually, given that it's such a corporate group that is owning this thing now, is I wondered if they would redevelop FA to a more newer technology, etc. type of art site. For example, DeviantArt.
That's what the.
I think that they may.
Look, I mean,
they are making changes, aren't they? Sorry, you guys. You should talk.
No.
They are making changes, and they are improving the site. I don't know how much time and money they want to put into this without having a clear return. DeviantArt has been evolving over time. They have built up a significant development team. I'm not sure how many of those they pay. But FA, you've got to be able to show some return over time if they're going to put capital into the site. And maybe Dragoneer has made the point that we need to fix these issues, and then people will maybe stick around. But you've got to be able to eventually show a return. And if it doesn't show a return within a specific amount of time, what will happen is it will be dropped. That happened at a company I was at. we actually got a segment of the company bought out by a much bigger company, GameStop, which is a sort of game retailer in the USA. And the idea was that this was going to revolutionize their digital offering. And in the end, it didn't turn out that way. It didn't work out as they wanted. They arguably didn't put enough money in. And I'm sure FA will argue, well, if you put a lot of money in, then you could have made a lot of money out. But at the end of the day, they didn't want to do that. They didn't fully understand the market. And I fear that is what will happen in 6 to 12 months' time. But people will look at this and say, something big happens. Maybe there's a big scandal. Inpw gets, implicated as, as the owner. And they're like, why are we bothering with this? This is just costing us money. Kill it. And I worry that will happen. And there really isn't much that we have in our power to stop that happening at this point.
Well,
because we don't know.
Yeah, well, what's to stop for Affinity for just going back to business as usual from there? I mean, it's going to be a bit of a like a stain on the record, but it's not going to be the end all.
Well, what's to stop them? Why would they bother doing that if they decided to stop it? Other than maybe their reputation would make a hit if they killed the biggest furry site in the world. But if there's a cost, why do it? It costs very little to turn off a web server. Is what I'm saying. A lot less. Maybe there is some agreement with with Dragoneer that if they don't want it in the future, they have to sell it back or something like that. But
well, I mean, that would be the logical choice, because I mean, Dragoneer. I mean, granted, I mean, it is his site. It started out like that. It's exactly how he bought it, how they developed it.
It didn't start out as
Well,
Dragoneer.
carry on.
He bought it, but yes,
it is his site.
Right.
To an extent. Yeah. The thing is that he wouldn't be that stupid.
You say this.
Would he?
No. Yeah, it's it's an interesting concept. It depends on how much they can get back. Maybe they change it up and maybe put prints on that you can purchase them, and they can maybe get their capital back.
And I'm sure they hope to make money. I mean, they're a company. They don't do this not to make money.
Yeah.
The point is that what they have seen is that FA has a lot of unique users who are not using their site, or who maybe are using. Some of them are using their site, and they think that they can sort of like get some synergies going on here. Maybe we can take our experience GameStop said, well, wait a minute, this, we can sell iPhones, we can sell white goods as well, just the same way that we sell games. We can rent them back, buy old ones from people and rent them back to other people. Why don't we extend our business model to this other market? And that's, it's what's it, horizontal integration or something like that, or you're buying up a similar thing, a similar business, with the hope of renovating it and making money out of it. That's how sites get transferred. It just happens that in this case, it's been bought out by a company rather than being given to someone else in the community who thinks they can do a better job. I mean, I took over Flavor, I took over Ink Bunny, I've made changes to try and improve their profitability, that sort of thing, such as it is. And I think that's what Inpw was hoping to do. It's just that they really don't understand the market right now, and I don't know that they will want to spend the time to do that, and whether they think that they will actually get a return on that. Maybe this was just to show that they could guarantee to get their ads on their site. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, a question in respect to that. I mean, I'm sure that you've seen the sort of beta version of what the new site should look like, and things like that. I mean, I've also checked it out myself. And actually, the weird thing is that I really don't like it. I don't like the new version. I don't necessarily, I mean, like the dark colors, I like that. But I mean, above and beyond that, the format itself is sort of confusing and, frankly, a little bit user-unfriendly.
Well, have you seen the new Weasel? Yeah, they changed it well, and not everyone likes that, and some people do like that, and some people are like, well, at least they did something.
Whenever you're going to change something, you're going to get both sides. You're always going to get that. So
and that happened with Archbox as well. I don't know if any of you remember Archbox, the sort of clean furry website.
Nope.
Kind of like Yerf, but yeah, well, that says a lot by itself. But there was this site called Archbox. It looked kind of like most furry galleries. Then they changed it to look more like Tumblr. A lot of people complained because it wasn't particularly very good, and also, it wasn't fully developed, and it had broken the site in respect of what people actually expected from it. People didn't want to be a furry Tumblr. They wanted a furry art gallery, and it's important not to change your core model too fast. You can introduce new things, that's cool, but if you try and totally change the site in a big way, you risk a lot of users just not going along with you and saying, well, actually, I'm confused by this site. I don't want to spend my time here anymore. I'm going to go to this other site that's what I want. At the same time, if you stay doing the same thing forever, you end up like VCL. VCL still works. Everyone use VCL. How many of you have visited VCL in the last week?
By accident.
Yeah. How many of you upload to VCL?
Nope.
It has an upload function.
Oh, that is an interesting question. Balish, excellent question. No, I've never had any contact with law enforcement. The only time I've reached out to someone was a suicide prevention hotline. Never have Homeland Security or law enforcement ask me for user data of anyone using any of my sites. That applies right now. Who knows tomorrow? But I can say that right now. It's not ever happened. Not even in.
But I mean, for what reasons? For what reasons would they actually?
Maybe they're looking into someone who shouldn't have been on the internet, for example. But whether they'd have the right to ask me is another question, or whether I'd be required to answer. I mean, it's like, just because you ask someone doesn't mean you have to respond. Just because it's like the US, I'm not even in the USA. We have one virtual server in the USA. But I'm not present there. They don't have the right to demand an answer from me about a private person on our website.
If any of your traffic is routed through a server that is on US soil, then you are liable to be asked, and you are liable to you have to comply.
But I think there's also a warrant or something. I think there's also a warrant or something like that involved.
I'm unsure.
On US soil.
Isn't that also that's also an Interpol idea, isn't it?
There's a lot of interacting laws around this. Basically, I would have to look into that very carefully. I would not be automatically answering law enforcement requests.
No. When you get a question, lawyer.
If they were asked probably by the UK, because I'm resident in the UK, just as my host in the Netherlands of our main web server would have to comply with a lawful request by the Netherlands to access our servers. But that wouldn't necessarily mean that the US could automatically access our servers. They'd have to go to the Netherlands court process and say, hey, we need you to issue a request. That sort of thing. Victor, this is the issue. The US uses privacy for US citizens only, so that means the NSA could spy on non-US citizens, yes. But that also means that the US has to go to another country and say, can I spy on your citizens? And that's been getting less popular in the last few years. I don't know if you've noticed that. Because people are finding out, and that's like, maybe we want to reconsider what we do here. Unfortunately, I am in the UK in that respect, and if they really want, they can do that. But we have our own security mechanisms.
And they're called bobbies.
Look, I mean,
Buglish. That's what they had actually. These adult art. You're not meant to be able to see adult art on Fur Affinity if you are not adult.
Yeah.
That's the idea. on Ink Bunny, would you say you can't be on Ink Bunny if you're not an adult? If you are, yes, Victor. Actually, the issue is more, I would say, more that Google cannot protect data at all, but they won't legally be asked to about US people unless they are communicating with a non-US person or something like that. Sorry, back to the
just in respect to the answers that he's given, Buglish asked, can you have a more generic adult adverts for logged in and confirmed over 18 users? And Victor then also responded with, Google cannot protect data from people abroad on their servers in US. Sorry, it's just, for when we put this onto YouTube.
I think so those are actually two different questions. So Victor was talking about the privacy of US citizens. I would say that if a government wants to know something, then they will find a way to find it out if they want to know it that badly. If we get to that point, we'll deal with it. And we will try to deal with it in a way that we think is suitable, which affects users least, and which honestly is the right thing to do. I can't say that I won't comply with legal requests that come to me. I will say that I actually think a lot of laws are highly dubious, and that some of them should be, that you should handle it in really the least information given possible that is still legal. And I think that's what Google is saying as well, for a lot of their stuff. To answer, can you have more generic adult adverts for logged in and confirmed 18 plus users? Again, that was what FA did, and people raised hell about it. So they were complaining that there were adult ads on their adult content, but they weren't furry adult ads. They were non-furry adult ads, so they were killing the coolness, and they didn't want to show it.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, if somebody has, say, indicated that they were 16 or 15 or 14 or whatever age, and they were drawing adult art, is that illegal to actually post it? They can't
post it. Well, on FA, they can't post it because they are not. That's an interesting question. I am not under 18 and have never been in on FA when I was under 18. Therefore, I don't know exactly the experience there. I suspect they are not allowed to post art that is not general rated, and therefore they can never be in that situation.
Both Scratch and I were on FA at about 16 or 15, around about there. And I mean, that obviously, that should ring true for practically everybody, or a lot of people who've sort of, in the 2000s, started finding out about things. I mean, and if they found FA or 15, 16, I mean, what if they did? Because the thing is that I know of a couple of people here in South Africa that are underage who are actually posting adult art onto FA. And I mean, like, if that's a...
Do you want to imply everyone else as well?
They're lying about how old they are to FA.
Do you want to implicate anyone else?
Yeah.
Like, seriously. Why don't you just tell
Scratch,
them
we were 15, 16. Like, the thing is that everybody was 15 and 16. I'm not necessarily saying everybody, but the thing is that I'm saying that there are a few furs that are underage and are posting that kind of art. The thing is that I'm not mentioning any names. So at the end of the day, if it's them, then it's them. But the thing is that that's their thing. What I'm just saying is that, like, how do you police that?
You do it based on when people tell you that they're not 18, or you find out. I mean, it happens on Ink Bunny all the time. Not all the time. Like, every week there is someone I ban because they're underage. Every week, and we do totally. They go until they are 18, until we are reasonably sure that they are 18. Their accounts are disabled. They have to log out. They can't use the site. We will buy people up them if necessary. That's just.
Yeah, I think actually what Ivic is that is how you get it. But I think the concept is that there are probably a lot of people that are still lying about it, because as a matter of fact, if they don't post any content or something like that, it might be really easy to get away with something like that. You understand what I mean?
Oh yeah, and there are proposals in the UK to have a more stringent system of checks required by pornography sites.
Or
and,
erotica sites. So
Well, whatever you want, however you want to define it. Sites which have artwork which is considered inappropriate for under 18s. There's all sorts of things like credit card checks and things, but then people are like, well, what about those people who are poor? This is discriminating against the poor who can't get a credit card, etc., etc., etc. So what they're really saying is you don't want porn. And if the only people you want porn, other people who don't want porn.
And any system that you put in place, it's going to make it more and more difficult for everybody else as well. So it makes it like a really tricky story. But as a matter of fact, I actually have no problem with a lot of the suggestions, like the credit card thing. Although I do understand that there are some people without a credit card, or some people that you understand what I mean. But
some people are blacklisted.
We would love a guaranteed way to be able to charge credit cards.
Yeah,
I would love that. I would love, as a site which has been thrown off several payment processes, I would love to have a mandated way that I can charge people on a credit card. But that's not going to, the credit card providers are not going to want that. Now, what I've said to people about this is that if the UK wants to give me a way that I can confirm through an API, online, that in a automated fashion that someone is the age that they say they are, that they are an adult, then I will gladly do that for people who I believe to be in the UK. That I'm fine with. We have IP location. I just deployed a cache network based on IP location. I have a fairly good idea what country you're coming from, unless you're using proxy. Therefore, I can say, hey, we need you to confirm your identity if you're in the UK. And this is this is cool. Okay, it's a bit of a hassle, but actually we want only adults on the ink bunny, so that's cool. And it's just a matter of development then. If they're just going to say you have to do it, but we're not going to help you, that's not helpful, and it's just not going to happen. They have to provide a means for us to do this. And I think that it is actually something that would come up in consultation, because there are people who make a lot of money off this, and they're going to say, well, actually, you're screwing us over here, and this isn't acceptable, and we'll sue you about it, because this is an infringement of rights. Whereas they might not complain if you give them a way to do it. There is another question: what parts of FA can be made exclusive to small subscribers, or do you think people will push to another site? There will be a small subscription cost.
My money's on pushing them away.
It's like you can't really compete with free unless you do really well, and FA isn't that good. I'm sorry. It's not a bad site. It actually has stayed up most of the time. That is, I know, people complain, oh, it's clunky and everything, but actually, it has had some development over the years. It has stayed up. There have not been super security breaches in the last few years, at least. But that's not good enough when you're charging people. And it's like, you've got pounce.org versus Fur, whatever it is, Furfling. It's going to be quite hard to make some money if there is someone out there doing something of equivalent quality for free. And the trouble is it's just too easy. It's just too easy to run a fairly good furry art site. It's not it's not super easy, but there are options out there that are free and that are likely to remain free,
again, as someone who runs a site like that, I mean, you think from both like the consumer and the creator's side, like, what would the benefit be for the consumer? Perhaps like a better run site, but again, like you said, you can't really compete with free, and your posters as well will sort of think a similar thing, like, what are they getting out of it when they can just put their stuff almost anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, furry art sites work in part because there is this sort of like no one is making super dollars out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
This is why Dragonair got this
Except for the
huge,
artists.
huge pushback. Right, the artist, okay. But they're providing a separate service. It's not about selling, they're not extracting rents. This is what the concern is, that furry is suddenly starting to be about, will it be about extracting rents from artists from hosting their stuff on your site? Are you extracting a rent from the fact that you own a lot of the community? And that's probably Invu's hope in a way, that they are going to get a rent of some kind. I'm talking a rent in the economic sense, that they can sort of like make money from the fact that they are the biggest furry site, or because they have control over certain artists find it hard to move, that sort of thing. As you say, as Douglas just said, the way to do it is to sell an additional service that people actually want. If you can do that, then you can make money.
You might be looking at like a type of a premium membership account for specific artists that uses the site, and they want their stuff, like, let's say, for example, the same way a search engine works, where certain sites will list up first while the rest of the site lists up down, and those premium members that wants their artwork on there might be paying people, you understand, to get
Yeah.
that's the basis of what I can imagine.
We've actually looked into
that's a governmental and capitalist system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, is your art worth enough to promote? If it is, then you'll be able to pay us a little bit of that to promote it.
Yeah, and
that's how.
For the big artists, it's only going to be it's not going to be a loss for them, because they get promoted and they make more money off of their art being on the first page.
Right. That's how ads have worked on FA. People got a good return from ads. I'm not sure that they are getting as good a return now. But that's the question. How many ads does it take for it not to be worth it?
No.
And does it matter that there's these other ads that people are turning off, or is it, it's all a matter of. But they were making money, and they were, I understand, covering FA's bandwidth costs.
Even Electrocat, I think.
Sorry,
at one point, Electrocat also had an ad on there, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she was. Yeah, actually, she was advertised on FA for, I think, sort of a period of a month or so.
I remember.
And the thing is that, I mean, like, if you look at things like that happens. And, I mean, if you can't do that, I mean, even, if I'm not mistaken, EC has had her say on this program about the Inpw buyover. And she was not best impressed.
Dude, I'm pretty sure.
It's all going to be a matter of, can they make money out of it? If they can't, then everyone's screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what it is about. Whatever they want to do, they will need to have money for the hosting of the site. They'll need to make money to improve the site. All that costs, development costs. So everything is about making money to actually get the site running, and to the people that is running the site are putting work and effort in. They want their money from it. That's how it works.
Yeah, but
it is really.
If that's the case, you're looking at Reddit. I mean, like, who's been following this thing on Reddit recently?
Oh, the fucking Reddit and Upvote. Yeah, Reddit and Revolt.
I mean, Reddit was bought over by a massive company because it was a good website, and they got their advertising out there and everything like that. And eventually, the populace revolted.
Yeah, because I mean, no one, basically everything that was made by. All the suggestions that were given to the developers were basically like ignored. New features weren't added to help moderators and content creators. There were so many things. Like, they weren't communicating properly.
And then they fired the person who was.
Yeah, they fired the one chick who was in charge with doing all the AMAs or setting up AMAs. Reddit, that was a big mess up.
But in essence, that's exactly what could happen to FA if Inpw does something that is so completely reprehensible to the entire community, that the community will revolt against them, and they will force those people to step down. That can happen.
Yeah, but those people won't step down without a fight, and then who gets put in their place if it's still owned by a company?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
then the company will maybe
Reddit is
try and
still
save.
owned by Reddit.
Yeah.
Reddit is still in control of Reddit. It just happens to be run by the founder now, rather than the person who is now an executive but not running the site officially.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not like there's this huge change. It's just that they've screwed up and they had to take a step back, and that's what happens. Dragoneer may take a step back at some point, but yeah, like Bugler said, she just stepped down from CEO. She still works there. It's not like Dragoneer is not going to work for FA because but he might not be officially running the site in the future. Maybe Chase starts running the site, or maybe Skittles. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, that's some very, very interesting content. I mean, like, the thing is that, like, this has been a very, very informative, like, session, actually. We're actually sort of almost at time, and I'm pretty sure that Greenreaper has gone from peckish to extremely hungry.
Well, I could
past
eat a
hour and a
wolf
half.
if we had a wolf, but I think we just got a blue fox up there. Is he a fox or is he a wolf?
Wolf.
He's a wolf. I'm a...
What?
Okay. I'll accept that.
And a Nubian that looks to be more metal than anything else. Very metal. So yeah, jeez, that's like a lot of that information has been very, very interesting. I mean, like, and obviously it's always great to have you on. Is there anything else that you'd like to sort of say to close up or anything like that?
I think it's interesting
In respect to
the site. I think it's interesting to see what the response has been on other sites. And people have gone to Weasel a bit more.
Yeah.
And people have gone to Ink Bunny slightly more. I've been seeing some people transition over, but it's not a huge amount. People are still on FA, and I don't expect that to change unless FA stops working. And I think that's the thing that will actually. And the biggest, from my experience, the biggest thing that will kill a site is the people who are running it not wanting to do that anymore. I think that's what will kill FA if anything kills it. Just as it killed Arxbox, just as it killed, Yerf actually died through a hard drive crash, but whatever. That is what will kill FA.
That's an actual death.
I died like that, but the people didn't want to, you understand, repair it or back it up or whatnot.
Well, the person running it was a druggie, and he spent all his money on drugs. And anyway, good times.
Oh, wow.
That's why you want to be careful about who you give your sites to.
Yeah.
And now they've given it to Inpw. Oh my god. Let's see how this plays out over the next year. I hope that for furry fandom it doesn't screw up.
Blow up in their faces.
All right, that's great stuff. Again, we'd like to thank Greenreaper for being on the show. And thank you for giving us a little bit more information on this. And I mean, obviously, we, as South-Afrifur, we've got a lot more to talk about with you in respect to a whole bunch of other things. And the next time around, we'll come up with something else that we can all talk about again. And then for those of you who were listening, we'd like to thank you, Pedalwolf, Victor, Ninjin, Buglish, and Kayana. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Is it Kuyani?
Mm-hmm.
Any case, thank you all for listening. We really, really appreciate all your support. I mean, we started getting a normal audience nowadays, which is actually amazing, and I find that to be really, really cool. I'm not I hopefully speak for everybody when I say that. And we're still sort of working out a couple of bugs in respect to the uploading of everything to YouTube.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. We'll try to update as soon as we possibly start doing it. And thank you all for listening. Thank you again, Greenreaper, for being on the show. I know that Raccoon's probably going to be very upset that he missed you.
Well, he probably had other things on his plate. He can catch the replay. There we are.
Catch the replay.
Good time. Thanks for the invitation. It's It's always good to chat with you guys, and I hope I could provide my perspective. I'm just one guy.
Yeah.
There are a lot. There are.
That was great.
As we've seen at Africa, we just had lots of people there.
What is you have a Twitter, eh?
Yeah, I'm Wiki Norton.
It's yeah.
Sorry, your what?
Wiki Norton.
Okay.
You've actually posted it on your own Twitter, so if people really want to know, they can.
Yeah,
look
that
on
was
your Twitter.
that was neat. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, yes. Our Twitter account is South-Afrifur. Just have a look for @South-Afrifur on Twitter. We also have a website or a Facebook account, also South-Afrifur. And if you just look for a general South-Afrifur site, I think if you just search for South-Afrifur on Google, you'll be able to find our YouTube site as well. So any of you who wants to, subscribe and like and plussy and whatever for the site and things like that, go right ahead. We're obviously not going to complain very much about that. Thank you all for listening. I'm very, very sorry about Kuyani. Why do I want to say the A? For maybe coming in a little bit later, but you can definitely have a listen to it when we have it posted up. So if you subscribe and everything like that, you'll definitely be able to listen to us again.
God,
and obviously, there's a
plug
lot of
us any
content
harder?
on there as well. I'm plugging so hard. If I had any more plugs, I would electrocute myself.
Okay, but anyways, I think that calls for a night. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll be stopping the stream.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Guys.
So, yeah.
guys.
Cheers.